Congress Party has always believed that trade union movement is an integral part of the social democracy and that every encouragement ought to be provided to promote collective bargaining among industrialists and workers represented in the trade union movement to secure for labor just and fair share of the fruits of development. The role of the trade union movement has to take into account the fast-changing social and economic conditions and the approach of the government of the day in dealing with these conditions. It is therefore important that INTUC should make an objective assessment of the economic and social policies of the present NDA government and their implication for the well-being of Indian working class. It goes without saying that a major task before our country is to remove poverty which still afflicts a large mass of our people. This requires a high rate of economic growth and a rapid increase in employment opportunities. There is a broad consensus in our country that India's economy needs to grow at an annual rate of about 8%, and the content of the growth process should be such that the country is able to provide new job opportunities for 10 to 12 million young persons who are joining India's labor force every year. It is also very important that the growth process should be both inclusive and environmentally sustainable to ensure distributive justice as well as an environmentally sustainable profile. The Indian trade union movement can play a very important role in ensuring that our growth process is both inclusive as well as environmentally sustainable. The proposed INTUC agenda, namely job creation, respect for labor standards and rights at work, social protection for all, an effective social dialogue and tripartitism responds very well to these imperatives. This visionary agenda, which is now before you, rightly focuses on providing productive job opportunities to young workers, ensuring zero gender discrimination, and expands the frontiers of social security, focusing on health, education, and housing, and guarantee of freedom of association and collective bargaining. The trade union movement and INTUC leadership has to be aware that at present Indian economy faces a fragile recovery and inadequate expansion of employment opportunity. Industrial capacity in the industrial sector is underutilized to the extent of 30%. As a result, demand for investment is rather sluggish. Public enterprises face an uncertain future and an uncertain policy of the government. Employment-oriented programs such as Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program faces reduced allocation. In the name of structural labor reform, efforts are being made by the government to reduce the scope for secure industrial jobs in favor of contract labor and hire and fire abroad. It is generally agreed that we need at least 500 million skilled workers by the year 2022. The actual case on the ground is only a fraction of this target. As a result, the employment seen in our country and therefore the future of the young men and young women who join the ranks of labor force is highly uncertain. As Dr. Reddy mentioned, the dissatisfaction of workers with the anti-labor and unimaginative economic policies of the NDA government was obvious from the one-day strike observed in the country on 2nd September 2015. However, industrial strikes and lockouts are not the best way to resolve unrest. We must enlarge the available space for resolving industrial problems through peaceful dialogue involving all the stakeholders of the tripartite process, namely workers, industry, and the government of the state. I should conclude by emphasizing that if INTUC has to play its historic role in the management of industrial relations in our country, it must expand its coverage to cover more and more of workers in the unorganized sectors, such as the agricultural workers and construction workers, and pay particular attention to the needs of women workers in different industries. INTUC must also play a more important role in programs relating to workers' education and skill development. It must also launch a social movement which would ensure that workers are not taken to drug addiction and other such social vices. With these words, I once again conclude by thanking Dr. Sanjeeva Reddy for inviting me to address this 31st Plenary session of INTUC. Jai Hind.
The one thing is very important, that the politics of 21st century is the politics for progress and development. And it is a